I ignored my family for 7 straight years, and then one night my phone lit up with 43 voicemails. Not one of them said, "I'm sorry." Every single one said the same 2 words, "Help me." I wish I could say I was shocked, but honestly, I wasn't. 7 years earlier, I walked out of my mother's house in a small town outside Dayton, Ohio, with $200, 1 suitcase, and a truth no one there was willing to admit. And I didn't just leave quietly. I left after my own mother stood in front of our entire family and painted me as unstable just for asking a simple question. It started at Thanksgiving. The kind where everything looks perfect on the surface: china plates, forced smiles, my mom hosting like she was auditioning for sainthood. My older sister, Claire, had just gotten a promotion, and my mom made this big dramatic toast about how proud she was. Everyone clapped, everyone smiled, no one looked at me. I was 23, working 2 jobs, saving every dollar I could, trying to build something for myself without asking anyone for help. But that night, I did ask. Just once. I waited until dessert, when things got quiet, and I said, "Hey, is there any money left from Grandma Eleanor's education fund?" She said she set something aside for me. The room went dead silent. Not awkward silent, more like, "You just said something you weren't supposed to say" silent. My mom slowly put down her coffee cup, smiled that tight smile she always used when she was about to twist reality, and said, "This is exactly what I mean. She's been acting like this for months." I just sat there. Like, what? My aunt reached over and squeezed my hand like I was the problem. "Sweetie, your mom just wants what's best." I didn't argue. I went to the kitchen and started doing dishes, because that's what I always did: clean up after everyone else while they pretended I didn't exist. But then I heard my mom talking behind me. "She didn't need that money," she said casually. "We used it for Claire's expenses." It made more sense. She's the one actually going somewhere. That's when something in me snapped. Because my grandmother had told me, clearly, that she left me money. $12,000. She held my hands and said, "This is yours, no one can touch it." Well, someone did. I walked back into the dining room and said, "That money was mine. You had no right to touch it." And my mom didn't even blink. "You're being dramatic again," she said. "You always turn everything into a problem." 10 minutes later, she gathered everyone into the living room like it was some kind of intervention. And I swear, she put on the performance of her life. "I've tried to keep this private," she said, fake tearing up, "but she hasn't been well. She's been having episodes." I looked around the room, 15 people, my dad staring at the floor, my brother scrolling his phone, my sister pretending she didn't hear anything. Not one person asked if I was okay. Not one. That was the moment I realized something that took me years to fully understand. I wasn't a daughter in that house. I was a role. The difficult one. The unstable one. The one they could point to when they needed a story. So, I went upstairs, packed a suitcase, grabbed the little wooden box my grandmother had left me, and walked out. My mom called after me, "If you leave, don't come back." And I didn't slam the door. I closed it gently. Because I already knew that door was never opening again. I bought a Greyhound ticket that same night. The farthest place I could afford was Seattle. It took almost 2 days to get there. I didn't sleep. I just stared out the window thinking about how weird it felt that strangers on the bus treated me with more kindness in 5 minutes than my own family had in 23 years. My first night I stayed in a shelter. The second week I found a tiny shared apartment. I got a receptionist job at a small consulting firm just to survive. And meanwhile, back in Ohio, my mom told everyone I had a breakdown, that I was in some kind of facility, that they were praying for me. My brother posted things like, "Some people would rather run than grow up." People believed them. And that's the part that really messes with you, knowing there's an entire town out there believing a version of you that isn't real. But here's the thing nobody tells you about going no contact. Yeah, it hurts. It's lonely. There are nights you question everything. But it also gets quiet. For the first time in my life, I wasn't hearing my mom's voice in my head telling me I wasn't enough. That constant noise? Gone. And in that silence, I started building something. I worked my way up at that company, slowly, painfully, no shortcuts, no handouts. I took classes at night, paid for everything myself, lived cheap, worked non-stop. There was no big glow-up moment, just years of consistency. By year 3, I had a degree. By year 5, I was running major projects. And by year 6, I was the COO of the company. Not rich, not flashy, but stable, independent, and most importantly, free. Before I continue, if you enjoy real-life karma stories like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I always love seeing how far these stories travel. Anyway, for 7 years my family didn't reach out. Not once. No birthdays, no holidays, nothing. And honestly, that told me everything I needed to know. They didn't miss me. They just needed me to stay gone so their story made sense. And then, everything changed because of one Google search. My sister, freshly divorced, drowning in debt, decided to look me up. Not because she cared, because she needed something. She saw my job title, my profile, articles about my work. And according to my aunt, who later told me everything, she just sat there staring at the screen in shock. Then she called my mom. "Mom, she's successful." And my mom's response? "That's not possible." But it was. And that's when the calls started. At first it was just a few. Then more, then non-stop. By the time I checked my phone after a meeting, I had 43 missed calls. I went into my office, closed the door, and started listening. My sister, "Hey, I need to talk to you about something important." My dad, "We've been going through a rough time. We could really use your help." My mom, "Family is family. You need to call me back." My brother, "I've got a business idea, just need a little backing." And then again, my sister, this time crying, "Please, help me." 43 voicemails, not one apology, not one. Just help me. Over and over again, like I was some emergency fund they forgot they had. I sat there staring at my phone, and I remember thinking, 7 years, not a single "Are you okay?" But the second they think I have something to offer, now I exist again. I didn't call back. I didn't block them either. I just let it sit. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was choosing. And 2 weeks later, I was scheduled to go back to that same town. Not as their daughter, not as their scapegoat, but as the keynote speaker at the biggest community event they had all year. And they had no idea I was the one walking onto that stage. And what happened next? Honestly, even I didn't expect. 2 weeks later, I was on a flight back to Ohio for the first time in 7 years. Same gray skies, but this time, I wasn't running away. I was walking in with a name people respected. The event was at the same community center my family used to drag me to. Walking in, I could hear the familiar buzz glasses clinking, people laughing, everyone knowing everyone. I signed in and checked my badge. Olivia Carter, COO, Northbridge Consulting keynote speaker. My name, my life, nothing like the version they'd told people. I peeked through the curtain. Front table. Of course. My mom, Diane, smiling like she owned the room. My dad quiet beside her. Claire trying to look put together. Ethan glued to his phone. They looked exactly the same, like time had paused for them. At 7:15, the host called my name. Polite applause, then I walked out. And the room shifted. My mom's smile froze. My dad blinked hard. Claire stared. Ethan stopped scrolling. For a second, I felt that old version of me, the one that wanted to shrink. But then the room stood up. A full standing ovation. The same people who once whispered about me, now clapping. My family stayed seated. I stepped up to the mic. "Thank you, it's been a while." A few nervous laughs. I started with the usual growth, community, opportunity. Then I shifted. I grew up here, I said. The room changed. I left 7 years ago with almost nothing. Not because I wanted to, but because staying was costing me more than I could afford. Silence. I was told I needed help, but the truth is, I just needed distance. I didn't look at them. I didn't have to. And sometimes, I said, the hardest thing you can do is walk away from people who taught you that you weren't enough. I let it sit, then finished normally. This time, the applause was real. Off stage, everything unraveled. People came up one after another. We had no idea. You've done amazing things. Your grandmother would be proud. Then my mom pushed through the crowd. Smile on. Performance mode. Olivia, sweetheart, she said, opening her arms. I didn't move. You had my number, I said, for 7 years. Her smile twitched. We've been trying to reach you, Claire said. You didn't respond. We need to talk. I listened to all 43 voicemails, I said. Not one said sorry. That hit. My dad stepped in. Let's not do this here. Where were you 7 years ago? No answer. Ethan scoffed. You think you're better than us now? No, I said. I just stopped letting you treat me like I wasn't enough. And that was it. No scene. I walked away. For the first time, I wasn't the problem. They were. I sat in my car afterward, just breathing. You expect a wave of victory in moments like that, but mostly, it's just quiet. Except this time, it felt earned. I didn't call them back. I sent one email. I'm not co-signing anything. I'm not sending money. If you want a relationship, it starts with honesty. Not help me, but I'm sorry. Until then, my answer is no. No anger, just clarity. And that's when the real karma started. Word spread fast. People started asking questions. Didn't you say she was in treatment? She's a COO now? My mom lost her position within a week. Quietly personal reasons. My dad moved into the guest room. Claire lost her house a few months later. Moved back into my parents' place. Into my old room. And my brother? His girlfriend saw his post about me being ungrateful and left him. Said she didn't want someone who begged for money and then played victim. Funny how that works. But here's what mattered most. I didn't go back. I built something new. A life where people show up because they want to. Sunday dinners, real conversations, no pretending, just real. A few months later, I started a small scholarship in my grandmother's name for students without family support, because she deserved something good to come out of all this. I used to think leaving meant losing everything, but I was wrong. I didn't lose my family. I lost access to people who only valued me when I was useful. And there's a difference. Those 43 voicemails taught me something. People ignore you when you're struggling, and remember you when you're valuable. The 2 words they said were, help me. But the ones that matter? I'm sorry. And until those come first, you don't owe anyone anything. Not even family.